Do I look all right?
You look fantastic.
That's awesome. Try Before We Die, the whiskey review show where we don't know what we're drinking, but we'll tell you what we're thinking. And I know for sure I don't have Mal with me today, but I have Rick. Welcome back to the show, Rick.
Thanks for the invite, Mal. Sorry I'm sitting in your seat. Happy birthday, though.
He's not sorry, but it is your birthday. Happy birthday, buddy. You would really wish you were here. Just might have to wait another year now. You know the drill.
I do.
Hundreds of bottles of whiskey in this bar, over 500, and we let Randy take us to one. But before that, something we're trying to do now and then is let folks know and remind myself some newer bottles in the bar. So, for instance, we have this 11-year-old Colila from Single Cask Nation. I believe Single Cask Nation bottles about 85 casks a year. I think I might have that correct. And so this is just a single cask, an Islay release coming in at 56.9%. So we'll look forward to that. And we also picked up a 16-year-old Glen Grant from their Cellar Reserve collection. Excuse me. Distilled in 1992, put together in 2008, coming in at 46%. Really like the Glen Grants and trying to find more of their higher ABV releases. So this was an exciting find. But we're not opening those today. So why don't we see what Randy asks us to get after, Rick? All right? What are you hoping for?
505.
505. Rick's been spending some time checking out some of the shelves, and I don't think he's making up that number. All right. I don't think we've pulled in the 500s yet. We've pulled in the fours for sure. All right, ready? Here it comes, Rick.
Oh, close.
We're in the neighborhood. This, I believe, will be the highest number pulled. That's bottle 492. That's going to bring us for the second time to a newer shelf. We'll see if I'm right. We'll see everybody for bottle 492. All right. 492, everybody, brings us up to this shelf. I believe we pulled something from in here recently, but today it's 492, which brings us to Port Charlotte, Heavily Peated, 10-year-old Islay single malt Scotch whiskey, coming in at just a wee 50%. So not cask strength, but brought to a high ABV nonetheless. I mean, we just know what we're going to get here. We're going to get some dirt, some peat, some smoke, some campfire. We're going to get some Islay whiskey. Let's find out if I'm right back at the bar with Rick. Hey, Rick. Were you able to hear?
A little bit.
A little bit.
I think I got Aaron's bottle.
He is a peat lover. And Mal himself, for your birthday, we understand you're becoming an Islay man yourself. Yeah, we got the Port Charlotte, which is the Bruichladdich family peated whiskey. So why don't we get it open and we'll talk a little bit. But I am just so impressed with the back of this bottle.
That is pretty fantastic.
Yep.
Molded right in.
Right, molded right in. All right, so hopefully we have no issues.
And the laddies are always good.
Yeah, it's a nice spirit.
Yes.
Right, okay.
Fantastic
So
distillery.
progressive Hebridean distilleries. We've talked a little bit about their B Corp certification in the past. This is a greenish bottle. Can you pick that up?
I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But very dark once filled. All right, let's see. I think we're going to be okay.
Ooh.
Little squeaky pop. What's that guy's name? Iggy Pop?
Iggy Pop.
Yeah. Let's get these capped. All right, so the Port Charlotte Heavily Peated Islay, let's see, 10 years in oak casks. We don't have a year of distillation or any. Some of their releases are year specific. This is just a core release, 10-year-old. 50%, again, just oak, and just a wonderful back of the bottle, and hopefully you can pick it up now or on the bottle turn, but just a lot happening there. All right.
It's nice that they put something into the bottle as well as the packaging as well as the spirit.
Yeah, right. And what I like is versus like a box or something, right?
Yep.
You know, don't spend your money there. Maybe use your packaging dollar, right, to something that's going to continuously be used throughout the life of the whiskey, right? So every time we pull from this bottle moving forward, we'll see this glass and we'll think about what else could we do with this bottle when it's done. We don't do much with other packaging. Right.
Yep.
You know, if you have a wooden box, a display case, you know, when we have some of those, that also is pretty nifty. But, you know, we're seeing more and more companies begin to sort of move away from that cardboard disposable packaging, which is fine. Especially if you're a progressive distillery with a B Corp certification like Bruichladdich. Did I get it right, Mal? Okay. All right. Port Charlotte. Have you had a Port Charlotte before?
I don't think I have. I've had a lot of the Laddies, but not the Port Charlotte.
Okay. And I believe Port Charlotte is an actual port on Islay, right, which is an island, right, off the coast of Scotland. Well known for their peated whiskies. Though, interestingly, Bruichladdich, an unpeated whiskey.
Has an unpeated whiskey as well, which is a fantastic...
Yeah, right. And they're not alone in that. And it is a great dram. Bunnahabhain also does an unpeated range, as well as some of their other labelings, which are heavily peated, like I'll get it wrong, the Mortor. And we opened it here, though, and it was pretty darn good. Piles of peat, I think it meant. All right, let's talk a little bit about this color. Coming out of a very dark, Old West medicinal green color. Not necessarily the bottle shape. That's more of the singletons, but this very dark green.
Now, one thing I noticed on the pour that I don't notice very often is there was a ring of bubbles around each of these pours.
Okay.
A ring, full ring, and my last bubble is sitting right there.
Right. And so one of the things that contributes to the bubble, right, is a higher ABV, right? So that's an old moonshine test, right?
Yes.
Can help you understand, because moonshine generally not coming from the factory with a label. You know, if the fella's telling you it's a certain proof or percent, right, the quick shake up can let you know,
and look,
right, with the size of the bubble and how long it lingers. Yeah. All right, let's see if where we are with legs. I haven't noticed an aroma of earth yet. Sometimes it escapes the glass, and all right, so I tend to pick up over there.
Oh, I see yours.
Yeah. I see one through the glass to the other side. This is one of these rare times, Mal. It feels like it could be my birthday too. The glass is well cleaned. Yeah, Mal has a responsibility here, and he often washes the glasses. We'll leave it there. By the way, you didn't do it last time.
So the legs are a little thin.
Yeah,
of course, a higher ABV is going to give you a thinner leg, though, right?
It's gonna So I think the higher ABV will also talk a lot about how fast the leg falls, right? Right. I see a few. I am not having a rifled barrel effect.
Right.
Right. Interesting. All right, let's do color. What are you picking up on?
I think the color belies what we're going to taste.
Sure,
right.
Absolutely.
I always think of a smoke as going to be a dark, and it's oftentimes not.
Right.
Oftentimes not. And so I'm looking at this as that's a gold on the lighter end of the gold, a blonde.
Right. So yeah, maybe in the neighborhood of that light medium point.
Yeah.
Right, because we're not in a pale.
So we can go back to that 70s musical reference, and it's a blondie.
Very good, very good. Sometimes that just gets my kicks. All right, so I think so the other thing about peat, right, is the longer it's in a cask, the less intense it becomes. So I think it might be somewhere near me. Like, so the Ardbeg Wee Beastie, only at 5 years old, is just a
punch.
Just somebody shoving it right in your face, whereas they pulled from the ground, right?
Burning 2x4 to the face.
Right, exactly. Eat this. And so at 10 years old, though, we're not in the neighborhood of it really dropping off significantly and being a secondary factor. I think we're still going to have a primary peat experience.
Oh, I Don't doubt it at all.
Well, let's find out what our nose tells us.
Yep, there's the
There
smoke.
it is.
There it is. I started getting that about a year.
It'll be fun to see that play back because I had to pull right away. All right.
Summer camp.
Right.
1978.
No. And I'm with you, right? Because it's not a winter.
No, it's definitely a summer. That's a
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. I was going to go to like that's wine and smoke, right? It's got a really sharp nose then that just moves into this smoke. And that could be the ABV, but I'm telling you, Rick, and I think you're getting it as well. This is fresh and smoky.
Yeah. and not like a punky wood smoke. This is a nice hardwood wood smoke. Right. The wind's just come around and blown that campfire smoke into your face.
Right. Pretty dry wood too.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. It's not a thick smoke.
It's not a pine smoke.
Right. It's not a tar resiny smoke. Right. It's a nice.
That's a proper smoke.
It's a proper smoke. Wow. There's nothing that pushes back about this. And for a 50% ABV, heavily peated, marketed, heavily peated whiskey, that you'd be like, and though that first hit was pretty tight.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty severe in a good way, but like, whew, there it is. And you got to have that experience sometimes. And now it's breathing. And so we could never recreate that.
No, especially,
Right.
I mean, fresh bottle.
Right.
Fresh glasses, capped.
Capped, right. Boom.
I think we got the best that we're going to get.
Yeah, as far as that nose hit.
From the nose hit.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. We've got this light to medium gold, fresh smoke. All right. Let's give it a
see what we
try.
got.
All right. Cheers, buddy. All right. The first thing I get is the mouthfeel.
Yeah.
Right, before it even moves back and sort of hits all the regions on the tongue and down, it's got a nice mouthfeel. We're really in moderate, right? I've got some nice legs now paying here as well. And the peat experience, Rick, is also, it's moderate.
I was just going to say it was much more pleasant than what I was expecting.
Right. It is still, we're still in this fresh smoke. It's nice.
Yes. It's beyond nice. I think that's really good. And I like sweet whiskeys. Mm-hmm. And so that is.
There is a sweetness.
There is a sweetness.
Yes, I agree.
Maybe cherry wood, fruit wood smoke.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Not just the dirt.
Not just the dirt. Right. That's really nice.
Right. And,
Sorry, Mel.
And at 50% ABV, right?
You know what? No medicine either.
Right. It's working really well.
No medicine-y taste.
Right. And for some folks, that's their game, right? A medicinal Islay. This is not playing that at all. It's a fresh, sweet
I think
summer
really
smoke.
hit something here. This is really nice.
This is nice. I agree.
All right, I'm going to try a little something here.
And don't get me wrong, right? It has some depth, right? So even though we're in this fresh, sweet summer smoke, it still possesses something. This second dram I just take, this second drink I just had, it has really opened up my mouth to some warmth, right? I'm still in the summer. Yep. I'm still by the fire. I'm still next to the lake, right? I'm not next to the ocean, right? I'm not picking up maritime, right? I'm inland right now.
In the forest. Mm-hmm. You're in the forest.
Right.
That forest smell hours after a rain.
Oh, it's a familiar word. Petrichor.
Don't know what.
Oh, okay. So that's the smell of the earth after a fresh rainfall.
Nice.
Yeah.
What was the word one more time?
Petrichor.
Petrichor. Nice word.
Yeah. I think it's Petrichor.
And that's the feeling I got.
Yeah. That's that freshness, though.
Yeah.
It's like new life, right? This whiskey isn't a heavy, old, peated experience, regardless of whether it's 5 years or not, right? And that's not a criticism, right? But trying to sort of bring out how fresh this whiskey is.
Now,
right?
heavily peated.
Right.
How are they getting heavily peated? And can you get that smoky flavor just from a barrel? Or what's the process of heavily peated?
So the malt is peated. So as they dry the barley,
it.
right. They use peat in their fires, right? So it's not entirely peat, but back in the day, fuel's hard and an island and all this, and what else burns, and that's why the Irish as well sort of burned peat historically for warmth, right? And so as they dry the malt out, they're using peat in that process, right? So the other piece that could be an element here for them to go to heavily peated, and now I'm going to make a few things up, right? Did they use some barrels that had held peated whiskey before? Right. I don't know. Right. Heavily peated is probably related to the parts per million, the ppm. Clearly, the Octomore series really pushes that limit, and they start talking about the hundreds ppm. Right. And we'll see some whiskeys in the 10, 20. So is this potentially a 70, 80 ppm? Maybe.
Could be.
Because it's not into that Octomore range, right? And I didn't see anything on the label. I didn't spend a lot of time there related to any of that information. There is one set of words right here. The Port Charlotte, right? So it's more just about their distillery. So there's not much information to go on other than oak casks. And we can do some research, and probably will. But heavily peated just is suggesting that, to me, a lot of the drying of the malt took place with more peat than usual in the fire process.
Or maybe a denser peat, or...
Well, right. Was it a top layer? Was it an old historical layer? Right. Yeah, that's a great question. Certainly what we can be confident in is they did not throw a brick of peat into the still as part of making the spirit to lend a hand there. Yeah. All right. So we've got this Port Charlotte 10-year-old heavily peated Islay whiskey coming in at 50%. It's fresh, sweet, summer smoke. It's new life whiskey, right? It's not old, heavy, dense whiskey, but it's got a lot happening.
It's got a lot happening.
Yeah.
This is very complex. The flavor profile is really
It's got
complex.
a lot going on here.
And so the 2 drops of water that I threw in did open up the nose more.
Yep.
Right? It opened it up a little bit more. I mean, it's hard to say with that level of aroma coming out.
Yep.
But it was a little bit more. And then the first taste I had off of it, I want to say it smoothed it, but that could just be because I had already had 2 sips
and you've acclimated
my
a little
mouth.
bit, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But a lot of times with these heavily peated ones, I will do first impressions, and then just throw the water in just to see if it does anything.
Yep.
And it seemed to, but
for sure. And many folks are on that train, and even in Scotland, we saw folks doing almost half and halves at the bar. Right, with decent whiskey, right? So it's all up to you. I tend to stay neat. As I'm spending time with this whiskey, the fruitiness on the front side is really developing. Very much like a Bruichladdich.
It's definitely a Bruichladdich. There's no doubt there.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to pick up the fruit. There's something there.
More on the taste than the nose.
A little bit sharp when it hits the back of my palate.
There's So I brought down some sharp, sparkly cheddar, some creamy cheddar. Got some pistachios. Ooh. Got some ginger and some dark chocolate. And so if you were thinking, what's going to go with this whiskey, and these are my choices, where would you go?
So initially I was going to say with the sharp cheddar.
Yep.
But the pistachios, are they salted? This might be.
I mean, I'm thinking the pistachio too. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
Right, because I think it's going to go well.
I think it's going to go really well.
Right.
And I think that
a little bit, because it's a sweet nut.
It's a sweet nut, and that's actually a sweet smoke. As
yeah.
far as smokes go, that's a sweet smoke.
Yep. I 100% agree with you. And I have loved pistachios since I was a lad.
A laddie?
A wee laddie crossing the brook laddie. Because I had to get to Port Charlotte. All right.
Okay, that pairs really well.
Yeah, no conflict.
Definitely no conflict.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take away from the smoke. It doesn't take away from the spirit. Doesn't,
not at all.
It absorbs it a little bit, but then because, the nut is getting crushed up, I think it's holding a little bit too.
Yeah, no, it's a nice combination. It's not
the other
like,
one would have to be that sharp cheddar, though.
Right, if I was going to go somewhere else besides there.
Here.
Right, not the chocolate.
The chocolate, no.
Not the ginger.
The ginger, no.
Yeah, it's going to be nuts and cheese.
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
The picnic basket.
Right. Remember, we're back at the lake in the woods. Is a sweet summer smoke fire. All right, this is an excellent drink. The Port Charlotte 10-year-old heavily peated, coming in at 50% ABV. Well, let's see what the crew has for us. Lift them high, and we're about to drain them dry. And to the guy who says, my turn to buy. Cheers, mate.
Cheers. Happy birthday, Mel.
Happy birthday, Mal, for sure. All right, so we've got this Port Charlotte. Feeling like it pairs with the pistachios and any kind of cheese you'd be after. It's a summer, sweet, smoky whiskey with some fruit in the front, and then that just moves into this new life campfire.
Fantastic.